Hello and welcome everybody. This is the Concise Webinar, What Makes a Great Website in 2023. Thank you very much for coming along. My name is Richard Keeves and I will quickly tell you, if you haven't been here before, what Concise Webinars are all about. Concise, educational, no waffle, get into the point, and we're not trying to sell you stuff, we're trying to help point things out that are going to be useful for you. As I mentioned, my name's Richard, and I'd also like to welcome, hopefully, if he's with me, Gareth Lane. Come
Yeah,
on down.
the current green dot. Hello, I am here.
Okay. So, ripping into this, what makes a great website in 2023? Well, solid foundations being the key. And one of the things that we want to make sure that we all understand is about the solid foundations that a website needs. We're not going to be covering that specifically in this session. We've just produced a new blog article that's on our website that talks about these solid foundations. There are 21 points that we've identified that we think are really important to get a handle on. These are on screen at the moment, but some of these, I've been running webinars and workshops, and as has Gareth for many years. And back in 1996, I was helping people understand that a good website needed to have good reasons to visit and good reasons to return. So a lot of this stuff hasn't changed. It's got more sophisticated. Websites have obviously improved a lot over the years, but the solid foundations have evolved and are still the same as they have been with websites. But really, today's session is about 2023. So what about that? We've got some points here that we do think are really important. And the first one of these is about the website needs to be fast loading. It's got to be fast loading. And over the last few years, Google has come up with something called Core Web Vitals. And Gareth's going to do a quick little demo of Core Web Vitals. When we go through this, understand that what Google is trying to do is to develop some metrics around Core Web Vitals. Around fast loading websites, and they call it Core Web Vitals. These core things that are vital for good websites. So Google has got metrics, and we kind of gauge websites around these metrics. But the reality is, as we've got on the screen here, the Core Web Vitals are important, but good relevant content that matches search intent that people have when they're trying to find information is actually more important for SEO than getting your Core Web Vitals score really good. It's good to get, and it's a competitive advantage that you can have over others, but focus on content, good relevant content. If you've got only limited time, a limited budget, good relevant content is going to beat a fast loading website. Having said that, if your competitor has good relevant content and a fast loading website, then they are going to win. And so that's why this is important stuff. Gareth, over to you.
Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen. So anyone can do this. This is not a special Gareth or Concise piece of software. You just need to use Google Chrome. I'm not sure if this is going to be big enough. So Richard, maybe you can just tell me. I don't think the Zoom will actually work. So can you see the numbers? But
Yeah, we
otherwise
can
we'll
see
just have
it.
to kind of.
Yeah,
What about now? Is that better?
yeah, nice. Yeah, that's better. Thank you.
Okay, so this is done in Google Chrome, so that's the browser. You go into the top right-hand side, the three little dots. You go down to More Tools, and then the one that says Developer Tools. Don't worry, you can't break anything on your website if you're playing here. So once you click that, you'll be loaded up with a menu up here that's got lots of tabs. And then the one you're looking for is the one called Lighthouse. Now, why they don't call it Core Web Vitals, I don't know, given Google makes the browser as well, but it's the one that says Lighthouse. And then you can pick any website. You can do this on your own website. Any website, doesn't matter. I've picked Westpac as a bank, and you can then run the test. Now, I've generated the test already because in the interest of time, it does take a couple of minutes. You can keep a saved copy of it, but it effectively gives you four core areas. So there's performance, accessibility, best practices, and then SEO. A couple of things to mention if you go and run this test is it is URL dependent and device dependent. So what that means is if you're going to test the home page, then you need to test it on a mobile view and then also on a desktop view. So you can see on the desktop view, they get an 89 for performance, but in the mobile view, they get 43 for performance. So don't just do one device and think that's your summary. You need to individually check both devices and then preferably a couple of different pages. So for example, you may do the home page, you may do a category page, you may do a long page, so do a couple of different pages. It does a relatively good job of explaining what the savings are. So you can see here, there's 5 things that the Lighthouse test doesn't like in red. So if you fix those 5 things, then you're down to the oranges. So some of this may seem very jargon based, but if you expand the accordions, you'll see that most of it is related to fairly simple things if you just read what it says. So of course, Concise can happily help you with any of this if you want. If you don't understand what it's saying, we can probably also help you. But generally, a lot of simple things are to do with images, and Google prefers these things called WebPs or PNGs, and Westpac have used JPEGs, which is quite interesting for such a big website to have these fairly simple things that could be fixed by goodness knows how many people that work at Westpac. So it's an interesting one, but you can run this on your own screen. So anything else on there, Richard?
No, that's good. Thank you. Okay. So the next point, actually, just one thing before we move on from Core Web Vitals. This stuff does actually make a difference. And there's some examples online. This is actually one from Google's website of where Vodafone implemented part of the Core Web Vital improvement to focus on something called largest contentful paint, which basically measures how quickly the main content of a web page is loaded. And Vodafone were able to achieve more sales by having their website load, or most of the website load, faster. This is not surprising, but it's interesting to think that, yes, there are actual case studies that show that this stuff does make a difference. And of course, Google are promoting it. Okay, the second point, or the next point, is something that we have noticed growing over the last couple of years, and really this year is taking on a new level of prominence, and that is about voice searches. Voice searches are those searches that are done not on a keyboard where you type something into the keyboard, but when you say to your smart speaker or your smart watch or something, and I won't do it because I've got one on. Actually, I will do it. Hey Siri, look up this, and Siri comes back and says, "Oh, do you mean that?" And so these kind of questions that are raised in voice discussions to search the web are opportunities for somebody's results to be returned. Are your results being returned in these voice searches? One of the stats that is interesting is that apparently 50% of the US population use voice search daily. I know I actually do now because I bought a smartwatch a few weeks ago. And so it's just something now that I realize, well, I haven't got the keyboard on it is tiny. It's a lot easier to use voice. Anyone else who's in the same kind of bag understands that voice search is now important. What a lot of businesses fail to understand is that you can actually optimize for voice search. And so you can make sure that or not make sure, but you can help optimize your site so that you can come up in the results that are relevant to you. It's an important thing to bear in mind. It may be an opportunity for you, but one of the things that we see growing in 2023. Gareth, did you want to do a demo on that one?
Yeah, I can. I'll just share my screen again. So obviously, if you have a smartwatch or a Google Home speaker or one of those things, then you can just talk to that. But there is also a little microphone in the Google search bar. So if you just click that, you have to be careful with me doing this. So I'll just pause and redo that. 1 second. How much do flights from Perth to London cost in August?
Good demo, Gareth. That's really interesting.
Now,
Truth is, I've actually never used that microphone button in the Google
I
Search.
don't know if you could hear all of that, but in my headset, it was telling me more information. So it was telling me how much they cost. It was telling me when the best time of year is, and a few other bits and pieces. So there was probably a minute's worth of information being played in my head by the Google Assistant, and I didn't have to scroll and read anything. So did
Yeah.
that come through or not?
No, it didn't. Well, not to
No.
me anyway.
But yeah, really interesting, how much information you can get by using this. And it works really, as you see, I said it pretty quickly. And I think the most important point, if you're trying to optimize your website for voice related search, is to think about how people use their keyboard to search versus how they speak. So, for example, I would probably Google, flights to London, right? And it just assumes that it's from Perth. But no one would say, okay, Google flights to London. They would ask it a question. So the easiest thing to remember is when you're writing content that you want to rank in voice search, you need to write it in a question and answer format. That's probably the most important point.
Hey, Gareth, the Google speaker in this room I'm in has just picked up this conversation and is now looking up bloody direct flights to London.
Everyone's listening all the time, right? But
yeah, it's
so
scary.
you may not have noticed it, but there is a little search by voice little button on the top there.
Okay, that's good. Good demo. Next one is that we think is really important, especially for e-commerce sites, and that is adding in a clever site search facility. So people use site search, and it's one of the most underused things or under optimized things on a lot of e-commerce websites. That if you can improve how people find things and they use search to find things, then you can start helping the buyer journey and help fast track people through your product catalog. One of the things that one of the tools we often recommend when it's appropriate is something called Doofinder, and we're a Doofinder partner, and that means we kind of get priority access to various things. But Doofinder is a clever system, and I think Gareth's going to do a little demo of Doofinder as well. There are a bunch of site search facilities out there. We like Doofinder for a few reasons. Firstly, it works, and secondly, it's relatively cost effective, and it can apply and be applied to a lot of different e-commerce websites. Gareth, over to you.
Yep. And the other thing I think that is really quite interesting with the Doofinder system is that you, as the admin of Doofinder, can tag certain things to certain keywords to help sort of inform the bot, if you like. So this here, if I type in, vanity, it uses pictures. Maybe I might type in 60 centimeter vanity, right? I might type in, bronze sink. Right, you can see. I think you can see how quickly it is working. You may say black tap, for example, or you may say, shower screen. A typical website search, every time I search, then I would have had to go and click on the results, go to a page, wait for the page to load, whereas I can kind of navigate the whole website from the search bar and from the browser, and I can even go straight to add to cart. And then in the back of Doofinder, there's the wonderful analytics that kind of tell you how people are using search, and it is a paid for tool, but I think the clients that I know are using it. I've definitely seen a substantial increase in conversions by using it. So those people I know have anyone who kind of sells a product that is picture based is probably well worth having a look at that.
Yeah, good one. Okay, so hang on. The next little thing we've got. Oh, hang on. The next little thing we've got is about AI. Now, 2023 really, and I guess this is no secret, we see this as being the year in which the benefits of AI become real, become relatively obvious, and are priced either, for the masses. Free is a good price, right? But we say wise use. There's lots of AI available now, and it's not all good. It's not all AI for a start. A lot of people claim, but it's actually not. So we suggest to be really careful with the use of AI. Get involved with it, practice with it, play with it, but sort of be careful with it. 3 examples. Chat GPT is something, and we're thinking of running a webinar sometime soon on Chat GPT. It's really good, and it's getting a whole lot better. But be careful when you use it to generate content, especially for your website, because Google actually can identify text that's written with AI bots, and there are AI there's software out that can detect AI detected, and it can detect this. And Google's got more advanced than what you can use for free anyway. But the point is that Google prefers content written by humans, and content that is based on human experiences with human reviews and inputs. And it's the sort of thing that Google then, if you're trying to use GPT generated content or AI generated content using ChatGPT, then you can create a whole lot of stuff. But what it's doing is not really adding a lot of value to the web. And where someone writes something that's actually from their own personal experience, they add more value to the web, and they can make more of a personalized comment, and Google will tend to value that higher. Um, so use it if you want, but be careful. We've done some very clever, or some of our guys have done some very people have done some very clever analysis of this, and we've got some tips that we can share with you about how to use it. AI assistants. Now, I don't know about you, but chatbots are something that I think can be really useful, but most of them aren't. When you go in and you ask a question and it says, "Oh, I don't understand that," choose one of these 3 options. And then it just kind of, you get in this loop of frustration with this thing that's meant to be a helpful chatbot that is actually bloody annoying. And so I reckon there's a lot of sort of chatbots that pretend to be AI smart bots that I reckon are dumb bots. So be careful not to use one of them. And there's a whole bunch of AI software tools that are being developed or claiming to have AI, and a lot of them do. But there's a plethora, as we put into this slide. There's a lot of rubbish out there, or stuff that's still in its first version, second version, third version, and it may be good down the track, but at the moment you can waste a lot of time and not necessarily benefit from it. So use AI wisely. It's definitely the year that AI is becoming really prominent, and so don't shy away, but just be careful. Okay. Um, Next thing is Google Analytics 4, and this is replacing the old Universal Analytics UA, which we can now call Google Analytics 3. That's been around for, gosh, I think at least 10 years, as being the kind of the default for Google Analytics. As of July the 1st this year, uh, old style or GA3 Universal Analytics will no longer be processing data of people who visit your website. So GA4 has been available for 9 months now, maybe longer, and we've been advising our clients to switch and to make sure they've got GA4, not switch actually, but to deploy GA4 onto the website. So you've got GA3 and GA4 operating simultaneously on the website, so that you're then building up a track record or history of what's going on your website, so you can have meaningful reports moving forward. As of the 1st of July, only GA4 will work if you want Google Analytics. Gareth, do you want to add to that?
Only that it's a bit of a learning curve, but the fundamentals of it are much the same. I'm sure we'll do a webinar on it at some point, but basically being forced to do it, and I've been using it maybe a year or so, and I do think it's better. It's just a bit of a learning curve, and it's just one of those things, as usual. It's annoying that you have to keep changing, but it is what it is, and that's part of being on the internet. There's always something changing. So, yeah, I think I'd encourage you to. Well, you have to do it, but I'd encourage you to do it sooner than later so you can learn from it.
Yeah, you have to do it if you want to use Google Analytics. Like, you don't have to use Google Analytics, but if you do, then moving to make sure that GA4 is on your website for recording data and producing analytics reports with intelligent, useful, actionable insights is what is a really beneficial thing. Okay, so that's our summary. we're trying to keep these concise webinars inside 20 minutes. We've kind of gone a little bit over at the minute. Hope that's okay. But bottom line is, the solid foundations are really fundamental, and there's a blog article. Gareth put a link to it in the chat, and you're welcome to have a look at that. There's a whole bunch of points, some of which will be very obvious and some of which may not be for you. So please take 5 minutes and have a quick read. Summarizing: solid foundations, fast loading, voice searches are really interesting, and you can and something to focus on if that's important to you. If you've got an e-commerce website, a good site search facility makes such a difference. Use AI wisely. 2023 is kind of let's say it's the year of AI coming to prominence, but there's also a lot of learning curve with it. And Google Analytics 4. Make sure that if you've got analytics, that you've got that one. We're really happy to take questions. We try to keep this session concise, so please, if you've got any questions, either give us a call or send us an email. Thank you very much for coming along to this session. This has been another Concise webinar, and we love your feedback, any ways to improve, and more important, well, as importantly, any topics that you would like to have anything covered on. We'd love to hear about that. And if you ever want to have a chat to talk about any of this stuff, please give us a call. Thank you very much. Gareth, do you want to?
No, that's it. Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Thank you very much. See you. Bye.